Namaskar, very warm welcome to all our viewers and learners in this live phone-in session of CIET NCERT. I am Renu Bhatt and you are with us on our PMeVIDYA channels from channel number 1 to 12 and on our NCERT official YouTube channel. And dear learner, as you can see, I am sharing screen with my sign language interpreter. Let's meet her. You are Miss Jyoti Gothal. Very warm welcome, Jyoti. And dear learner, as you know, on the occasion of Learning Disability Week 2022, we are organizing a 6-day online training workshop. Today is the 4th day of the workshop program, and any one of you can participate in this specific training program. All you have to do is you have to register yourself. There is a link on the television screen flashing on right now, और आप इस लिंक पे रजिस्टर कर सकते हैं. और हम आपको बता दें कि इट्स अ 6-day ट्रेनिंग वर्कशॉप, और इस लिंक पे रजिस्टर करने के बाद आपको सारी डिटेल्स मिल जाएंगी जो आपको करना है. हम आपको ये भी बता दें, ऑन द लास्ट डे ऑफ द ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम, दैट मीन्स ऑन 25th of June, वी आर ऑर्गेनाइजिंग अ क्विज एज वेल एंड यू कैन पार्टिसिपेट इन दैट पर्टिकुलर क्विज. और उसके लिए आप अपनी एंट्रीज 1st of July तक हमें भेज सकते हैं, फ्रॉम 25th of June till 1st of July. And dear learner, let me share the title of this session. आज का हमारा टाइटल है Learning Disability Inclusion, and we have joined by our learned expert. Let's meet her. You are Mrs. Lakshmi Krishna Kumar. You are founder director Sankalp the Open School. Very warm welcome, ma'am.
Can I start?
Ma'am, we are about to start, and let me give some certain information to all our viewers how they can participate in this live phone-in session of CIET NCERT. Dear learner, you have to call us, or either you can drop a mail also. You can call us on our telephone number, that is 8800-440-559. Either you can drop a mail at our email address that is flashing on your television screen right now. और apart from that, आप हमें हमारे live streaming के through भी, यानी कि अगर आप हमारे NCERT ऑफिशियल यूट्यूब चैनल पे हैं, गो टू द लाइव चैट बॉक्स एंड ड्रॉप योर कमेंट आउट देयर. इन तीनों ही माध्यम से आप हमसे जुड़ सकते हैं. और यहाँ पर मैं आपको बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट इन्फॉर्मेशन ये देना चाहूँगी. वी ऑल आर अप्रिशिएटिंग योर एफर्ट्स. हम आपके सभी एफर्ट्स को अप्रिशिएट करते हैं, बट वी वांट द रेलेवेंट क्वेश्चंस. आप हमें रेलेवेंट क्वेश्चंस भेजेंगे हमारे कमेंट बॉक्स में तो हमें बहुत अच्छा लगेगा. एंड मैम, लेट्स क्विकली बिगिन दिस सेशन विद यू. एंड माई फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन टू यू इज, does inclusion work for a child who has severe learning disability? Challenges, ma'am.
Okay, that depends exactly on how early you're identifying the child. If the child is identified in the early years of schooling, say in the primary classes, even if it is a severe challenge, some closure of the gap can be I feel it can happen with intervention and remediation. So early identification is the most important thing here, however severe the challenges.
Okay. So ma'am, what is the role of parent in inclusion, ma'am?
Parents have to play a very important role in inclusion. It is like a triangle, a triad, where you have the parent, the child, and the teacher, having a very confident, established relationship between the three. So it is very important. The role of a parent is very important in inclusion.
Ma'am, shall we begin this session with your presentation?
Yes, sure.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay, so firstly, I would say the role of education, as we see it's changing. We as educators, we are given a name tag to our role, which means we are futurists. We prepare children for the future. And there are two roles very importantly played by all teachers, whether they are special educators or mainstream school teachers. The primary role of education is to impart knowledge and skills and to prepare them for the workforce in the future. The secondary role would be to identify children at risk, which was not given much importance earlier, but now I feel it is very important. So that, in that sense, the role of education is gradually changing. Now, who is a successful student? The definition of a successful student begins with an understanding what the student needs from teachers, This definition is with the belief that all children can be successful at school. Okay, it is not that you separate out children with learning challenges and the neurotypical children. Everybody can be successful in inclusive environment, provided, like I said earlier, challenges are identified at an early age. What students finally need is an empathetic and an understanding teacher. That is what they need. And that is what makes a student successful. Now, what can effective teachers focus on? They can focus on academic goals. They can carefully set instructional goals and have materials ready for them. They can structure and plan learning activities, involve students in the learning process, closely monitor progress, which is very important. It is not only the performing child whose progress has to be monitored, but also the child who has got learning challenges, and provide frequent feedback. Feedbacks are very important, because otherwise you will go through the process where you feel everybody is doing okay, where the child with learning challenges can get left out. So effective teachers are proactive and they avoid problems rather than respond to them. They try to avoid problems. So structure and planning learning activities in that sense is very important. Most important, they know how to make the child to feel competent, accepted. These are very important for the process of inclusion to happen. Now, what does inclusion involve? Primarily, it involves intervention, multisensory teaching, social emotional learning, very important, executive function skills, or EFS as it is known in short. Two very emerging areas which we find have to be given emphasis on as far as inclusion is concerned. Now, what are the areas of intervention for students with specific learning disabilities? It starts with perception. Everything in the universe of the learning process of the child starts with perception, because what they see, what they touch, what they feel, what they hear involves the perceptual processes, and some of it would mean sequencing of steps, analysis, making a full general understanding of how to analyze the learning subject, then synthesis, putting it as a whole, then finding similarities and differences between what is learned, between what was learned earlier and what is need to be learned now. So perception plays a major role. Then we go on to the area of reading, where reading is also should be given importance, and it can be easily done in an inclusive setup through choral reading and paired reading. But what do we mean by choral reading? Choral reading is the teacher reads aloud and children read along with the teacher. Paired reading means pairing two children and reading aloud to each one of them. Okay, so reading is a very important activity, a skill which has to be developed, which I think mainstream schools should lay a lot of emphasis on. Comprehension, after reading, comprehension, where working memory has to be, we need to remember what we have read or what we have listened to in the class, and for that working memory has to be activated through a very important strategy of verbalization and visualization. They need to visualize, see in their mind what they are listening to and what they are reading. And they also have to verbalize it, because both these activities are two activities of the different hemispheres of the brain, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. Writing, sentence writing strategies have to be imparted, where you start from simple sentences, move on to compound, and then to finally to complex. Then math is another important area where number sense has to be understood by children. Language fluency. Language fluency means when it comes to word problems and higher level problems of algebra and geometry, the language of math has to be included and emphasized. The other areas would be occupational therapy, speech and language therapy, and brain gym. Brain gym are occupational and speech and language therapy are very specialized therapies which can only be given by the therapists, specific qualified therapists, and it can be given. They do individual sessions as well as classroom sessions also, which means it can be inclusive. Okay, and then we go on to brain gym. Brain gym are simple set of exercises which activates both left and right hemispheres of the brain, and that can also be done in the class, giving it an inclusive atmosphere. Okay, now this slide is about saying that good teaching is good teaching, okay, and which can be imparted across to all levels of children, whether they are slow learners, gifted learners, high IQ learners, children with specific learning challenges. What we are saying is teaching has to be good ultimately. So how does it happen? To apply what they learn, what they have learned. Teachers should facilitate the application of the learned material. Tasks have to be broken down into smaller parts. You know, you cannot give a big task or a very abstract task. It has to be broken down into concrete steps. Structure and predictability has to be there. There has to be a structure. I have been emphasizing on the structure part right from the beginning. I think we need to understand this structure and predictability. You know, you have to go through the exercise of telling the students what is the structure for my class today in terms of a particular subject. What is my structure? Only then children can anticipate and work accordingly. Also, teachers are responsible for helping them to understand abstract concepts. Abstract concepts have to be broken down into multi-level ways of taking them through visual modes, through drama, through projects, then through role modeling of the concept, even making a model, a model of the concept which has been shared with the class. Lastly, knowing it's okay to make mistakes. Humor is a very important tool in any learning process, okay, and it is not by laughing at somebody who has made mistakes, but accepting and making it as a joke that it's okay to make mistakes. We learn from our mistakes. So that is all what good teaching is all about, and all this can be done in an inclusive classroom. Now,
right. Ma'am, before moving further, we have a lot of questions for you. Can I ask some of the questions, ma'am?
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. Dhanya Elizabeth is asking, is the need of a shadow teacher mandatory for inclusion, considering most of school have a large number of students in a class?
Okay, I would say again, I would go back to my the first statement, where if the severity of the learning process is intense, I think you need to have a shadow teacher. Otherwise, the mainstream school the regular class teacher can take over, provided she knows, she is trained, that she has some understanding of the whole process.
Okay. Ma'am, another viewer is asking one more question. Boya Nivasilu, what is the role of special educator and normal teacher in inclusive education in normal school? Please explain.
The role of a special educator in a mainstream school would be, if the mainstream school has resource rooms set up in their schools, then the special educator plays a huge role in helping children come to the resource centers and working in a remedial way. Not as an extension of the subjects which was dealt in the classrooms, but to emphasize on skills like reading, comprehension, writing, math skills.
Ma'am, Sajid Masood is asking, do we have any checklist so that we can identify those students, especially in rural areas, ma'am?
Yes, we have. We do have. We do have. You want it in what, the regional language or in English?
Ma'am, can you please speak in Hindi if you can? Otherwise, English is fine, ma'am.
आपको हिंदी में चाहिए और इंग्लिश में चाहिए checklist?
Ma'am, he is just curious to know, do we have any checklist?
We do have a checklist in
Can you
English,
please explain
not in the
them, ma'am?
regional language. Not in the regional language.
Okay. Fine, ma'am. Ma'am, let's please continue with the presentation, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Now, I want to emphasize on multisensory teaching, which is a very important, teaching process when it's concerning children with challenges as well as the regular group of children. When we say multisensory teaching, it is simultaneously activating visual, auditory, kinesthetic, tactile methods to enhance memory and learning. Visual is, of course, all what you show them on the on the screen. It could be your digital board. It could be your graphic organizers on your board, your class board. Auditory could be more through talking. Then kinesthetic would be more through role play. Making a lot of making projects and putting them into a role play method. Tactile would be more of touching, and here touch would be more to do with reading and writing activities, spelling also, even spelling of words. So this will all the 4 modes of multisensory teaching will enhance memory and the learning process. Links are constantly being made between the visual, what we see, auditory, what we hear, and kinesthetic and tactile, what we feel and what we understand through movement. And these are pathways which are activated in learning to read, spell, comprehend, and understand. Okay, now 5 key skills for academic success in an inclusive classroom would be organization, time management, prioritization, concentration, and motivation to achieve academic success. This is what we feel are the key areas for academic success. And I'll just briefly go into each one of them. Then some tips for organization: make a checklist of things your children need to bring to and from school every day. Then copy by the door at homework to be copied.
Hello.
1 minute, ma'am.
Dear
1 minute.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
Put a copy by the door at home and one in his backpack. Try to check with him each day to see if he remembers the items on the list. Then find out how your child keeps track of his homework and how he organizes his notebooks. Very important. Then work together to develop a system he will want to use. In working together, a system has to be developed because we can't enforce what we know on the child. There are certain comfort areas which the child will also show you. So work it out together. It's a joint process. Shop with your child for tools that will help him stay organized, such as binders, folders, or an assignment book. Next is, okay. Just give me a second.
Fine, ma'am. Dear learner, let me tell you that ways through various medium you can participate in this live session. You can call us or you can drop a comment at our live streaming. You can call us on our telephone number, that is 8800 440 559. Either you can drop an email also on our email addresses, And if you have joined us through our live streaming, that means you are on our ncertofficial YouTube channel. Go to the live chat box and drop your comment out there. We would appreciate your effort, and we would rather appreciate your question and queries. And let me tell you one more thing, that if you want to find the link, you can find that link in our description box as well. You just need to go to that link and register yourself for this 6 days training workshop program. Ma'am, can we start?
Yeah, now the second set of tips are how to manage time, help them to track assignments on a monthly calendar, work backward from the due date of larger assignments and break them into nightly tasks. Help your child record how much time she can spend on homework each week, so she can figure out how to divide this time into manageable chunks. Together, designate a time for nightly homework and help your child stick to the schedule. If evenings aren't enough, help your child find other times for schoolwork, such as early mornings, study halls, or weekends. So this is mainly for time management. Prioritization. Ask your child to write down all the things he needs to do, including non-school related activities. Ask him to label each task from 1 to 3, with 1 being the most important task. Ask about each task so that you understand your child's priorities. It's important for the teacher to understand the priorities of the child. If he labels all his social activities as 1, then you know where his attention is focused. Okay, so prioritization. So we started off with organization, then we went on to time management, and now we move on to prioritization. After prioritization, we have concentration. Now, how do we facilitate or enable our child to concentrate? Turn off access to email and games when your child works on the computer. Declare the phone and TV off limits during homework time. Find space that fits the assignment. If your child is working on a science project, she may need lots of space. If she's studying for English, for a language test, she will need a well-lit desk. This is mainly to do with the little tips on the home front, but some concentration skills can be, you can modify your classroom into facilitating or enabling the child to concentrate by maybe bringing the child to the front of the class, rather than sitting at the back of the class. Bring those children in front so that there is direct eye contact with the teacher. Motivation, a very important factor in getting them for academic success. Link school lessons to your child's life. If he's learning percentages, ask him to figure out the price of a discounted item next time you shop. Link your child's interests to academics. If he's passionate about music, give him books about musicians and show how music and foreign languages are connected. Give your child control and choices, very important, this or that. With guidance, let him determine his study hours, organizing system, or school project topics. Now we move on to another important area of, when we work with children with specific learning disabilities. And I feel this is applicable to any child in the class, because social emotional learning is a very important factor in today's children's lives as they move forward. And we hear a lot of stories about breakdown in the social emotional system, and therefore a lot of behavior problems come up. But we need to address this very clearly, very specifically, and very individually, for which we need to understand what is social emotional learning. CEL in short it is called, and it is a framework to help students learn critical skills such as managing emotions, understanding healthy relationships, improving social skills, and making responsible choices. These skills are needed throughout every moment of a student's life. Now, what are the domains? The 5 domains in CEL are self-awareness. They need to know about themselves. Self-management. Once they get to know who they are, what their strengths and what their weaknesses are, how do I manage myself? Social awareness. How do I manage my social surroundings? Relationships, very important, because that forms the crux of social emotional learning, because a relationship that is long and lasting and not that is very fragile, they need to work on these areas. And finally, decision making, how to make good choices, how to make a good decision, so that there is self-awareness, there is self-management, there is social awareness, and their relationships remain strong forever. Now, how do I start teaching self? Using literature. Literature, what I mean is, see, we simply have our phones where we have a lot of emoticons. I don't know whether children, we actually work on a lot of those emoticons, which are very visual in nature. So we show them, this means that I'm angry, this means I'm in doubt, this means I am frustrated. So emoticons play a very important, so they need to identify and label their emotions. That is using literature, because very few, our children, many of them are unable to give a label to the emotion or the feeling that they are going through when they are low, when they are happy. So what is it? What is the feeling behind it? Then that is using literature. Morning meetings. Spend some time meeting them personally. If you feel that a group of children are facing certain challenges, meet them in the morning. Meet them for circle time, where you have all the children taking part. Journaling is a very important process, where you can ask them to write using a diary. Ask them to write down the day's happening, and once they start writing, they know what should be prioritized, what should be, what is the motivation that is driving them. How do I manage myself, regulate
Ma'am,
myself?
here let me tell you that we have only 3 more minutes left for the session,
Yeah,
ma'am.
playing, and also playing lot of social emotional games. Okay, the next part is EFS, or executive functioning skills, which forms also a very important factor as far as the learning process is concerned. What are they? They are a set of mental skills which include working memory, flexible thinking, self-control. We use these skills every day, to learn, to work, and to manage things in our life. Among other challenges, trouble with executive functions can also make it hard to, in any of these areas, focus, following directions, handling emotions. Now, I'll quickly just go through some important executive functioning skills. One is planning, organization, time management, task initiation, working memory, metacognition, self-control, sustained attention, flexibility, perseverance. And finally, I would say some of the quick strategies for supporting executive functioning needs in an inclusive setup would be as follows: having homework written down in the same spot every day. Explicitly, we would request, Sankalp would request teachers to teach CEL and EFS skills very explicitly, because they are very crucial. And post-pandemic, we have seen a breakdown in all these areas. Give an extra 3 to 5 minutes to organize before transitions, schedule a weekly organization time, create routines and practice them, incorporate movement during instruction. Very important for them to move around. Create an end of the day checklist. End of the day, ask them to make a checklist of all what happened. Provide brain breaks during and after instruction. Again, another very important factor. Clearly explain academic and social expectations. Keep an extra set of books at home and in the classroom. Use countdowns and time checks during work periods. Have students set up homework binders. Now, this is a slide which I want all of you to read quietly by yourself and just imbibe what is given there. I'm not saying anything. This is between the teacher and the child. What should transact between the teacher and the child?
Right. Ma'am, would you like to add something, as we are running very short of time right now?
No, I think it is all over. It's very, I made it very clear and explicit. There is nothing more.
Thank you so very much, ma'am, for your information. Thank you so very much, ma'am, for being with us, for your detailed information on learning disability inclusion.
Thank you. Thank you.
एंड डियर लर्नर, मैं आपको एक बार फिर से बता दूं, अगर आप अभी भी इस सीरीज वर्कशॉप के लिए अपने आप को रजिस्टर करना चाहते हैं तो आपको लिंक हमारे डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में मिल जाएगा। आप वहां पर जाकर अपने आप को रजिस्टर करवा सकते हैं। और हमारे लास्ट दिन यानी कि 25 जून, इस वर्कशॉप के आखिरी दिन हम एक क्विज़ ओपन करेंगे जिसके लिए आप अपनी एंट्रीज 1 जुलाई तक भेज सकते हैं। और जो पार्टिसिपेंट्स 70% से ऊपर क्वालिफाई करेंगे या ऊपर स्कोर करेंगे, उन्हें सर्टिफिकेट प्रोवाइड किया जाएगा। तो आप इन सभी सेशंस को मिस ना करें, इन सभी सेशंस का आप हिस्सा बने और ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा संख्या में आप हमसे जुड़े, हम बस यही चाहते हैं। और अभी फ़िलहाल मुझे रेणु भट्ट को दीजिए इजाज़त, इस सेशन को हम यहीं पे वाइंड अप करते हैं। बट उससे पहले हम अपनी साइन लैंग्वेज इंटरप्रेटर ज्योति, आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करते हैं। थैंक यू सो वेरी मच फॉर बीइंग विद अस एंड लेट मी रैप अप दिस सेशन हियर ओनली। मी रेणु भट्ट इज टेकिंग योर लीव, बट यू stay with us on PMeVIDYA channel and on our NCERT official YouTube channel. Namaskar.